Welcome, viewers. It's been a bit since I've done a review on today's subject, but without further ado, may I introduce the man, the hunk, the buff bro himself, Machamp. Oh yeah, you know what time it is, guys. It's another Mega Construx Pokemon review. As I said, I'm sorry I have been a little bit behind on some of the newer stuff. Trying to toggle a lot of different projects at the moment, but I wanted to make sure to get one out for this man because he's special. Look at him. He's such a special little boy. But also that he's like a brand new Pokemon too, you know? It's very rare these days to get like a brand new Pokemon like model. So, of course, you know, it's always a very special day when that happens, and Machamp, he was one I was both excited yet concerned about when I first saw a teaser image of him, as, you know, like, I was like, woohoo, a brand new Pokemon, but then I was also like, oh, wait a minute, they're focusing his whole arm thing on the build with motion gimmick they've been doing lately, so I was like, I mean, how much are they going to compromise with his arms? Are they going to be individually movable? Are they all stuck in a clump? Like, how much are they compromising for this gimmick or not? So I was a little scared for that. But he's here now, so let's just go ahead and get started with the box. Starting off with first impressions, he looks nice. He's buff, he's built like Hercules, he's got a nice little thing of grass down there, and he looks like a solid Pokemon interpretation. Here's the side of the box. He's flexing on us with all his buff muscles. As for the back, it shows him, again, being buff, and it shows off the motion of the arms a little bit better with the crank, which is where my initial concerns also stem from, as it looks like they all must be intertwined somehow, so I don't know how big a deal that will be. And just at the bottom, like normal, it shows other sets you can get. Though with the newest gimmick, they are encouraging add-ons to get, as they will build off the buildings and other smaller little sets like that. So once I open all these newer waves of sets, maybe I'll put everything together. Oh, and on the other side, he's also doing more flexing. I quite like that one, you know, power pose right there. Also, here is the top of the box with the big old Mega logo, but I actually really like the pose they gave him on the front of this. I don't know, overall, that just looks like a very clean top compared to some of their others. It even makes this awful purple-blue color not look as bad. And there you go, that's the boy in the box. And ta-da! Here he is, looking handsome. After finishing the build, I have to say it's a pretty solid set build-wise, and I'll get more into that in a minute. But other than that, here's just like all the contents contained within the set. As for example, no, I killed him. I'm so sorry. So anyway, as I was saying, here's the instruction book, one of the larger size-wise. It's not necessarily too thick, but, you know, it's got all those lovely steps. And they're basically just showing how the sets will interconnect with the base plates here, which is a nice visual. Just some additional sets you can collect, things like that. Ooh, I will admit, that does look very nice all on display. There's also this little pamphlet that came in there to show other most recent sets they've come out with. So here's a checklist with all the newest ones they have produced at the moment. Yeah, not bad. Most of these, you know, we've already seen where we have, or they'll be getting an upcoming review, especially that Ninetales. I'm very excited for you. And on the back, it shows what sets every Pokemon comes in and different ways you could arrange the sets together. It has been kind of nice to get some bigger terrain builds. Honestly, just new Pokemon variety, that's where it's at. For extra pieces, we also got one of these nifty new models of like the piece remover. I haven't actually seen this one before. I have some of the older ones, but yeah, they greatly updated what the new design looks like for these, and it's pretty cool actually. So yeah, that actually looks very nice. And these were just the extra pieces. I just reused this plastic container. Not too many, but you know, get all these little things. Alright, and that's pretty much all the extras out of the way. So now we're going to talk about the man of the hour here, Machamp. First off, let's get our boy over here in the set so we can check out all his points of articulation. Starting from the bottom and going to the top, we're going to take a look at his ankle rotation. Pretty nice overall, and it gets the job done. As for his knee rotation, I feel like it could have been better. It's quite limiting and makes it difficult to position him when he's standing so he doesn't topple over, or just bending motion. He can't really do much down there. And moving up to his thigh rotation, he's got a pretty good range of motion there, so you can get some excellent leg kicks from him. Moving up from there, he's got some great waist rotation. He can do a full 360 and decent side to side. And at the very tippy top, we have his head. And while he may not have a neck really, he still has enough rotation so that he can look around most places and it's not really an issue. As for his fingers and wrists, they both have pretty decent movement, including the thumb. His elbow, it's alright on a hinge joint, although I think I would have preferred it with a ball joint as it can easily fall. It does have some issues with posing. The upper shoulder mobility is actually pretty decent, though with the two bricks out on the side, it can kind of get caught quite often. But with enough tweaking around, it has decent motion and range. The same can pretty much be said for the upper pair of arms as well. As for the key in his back, that can easily be popped out. And yeah, overall, he's pretty fun messing with his hands, his arms, his fingers. Its posing options are sky's the limit. Alright, and now that I have highlighted the basics of him and that stop motion bit, you guys will have to tell me if you like that. It saves me some time instead of having to do the whole thing in stop motion. But I also wanted to just take a quick overall look at him, as there are a few additional points I would like to touch upon. For one, I do find it very interesting how he attaches to his base here. Since his feet have no studs on them, so he cannot grip onto a normal base plate, they have arranged some rocks and grass to act like slippers of sorts, so his feet have something to balance him out while on the base, which is actually visually pretty cool. But yeah, honestly, that's just a very small little piece of terrain. I honestly feel like they should have made it a bit bigger for him, a more bulky Pokemon. It would have been nice to have, I don't know, something that felt a little bit more sturdy for him. Yeah, overall, for his build, I quite like it. It's one of the more refreshing builds of like a large to medium-sized Pokemon we've gotten in quite a long while. And overall, just like visually, he looks so fine. Like, if I'm being real, he's so fine. So visually, I think that's where he shines the most, as they did such a good job utilizing all these curved bricks here and there to show him, like, feel really muscly, you know? Like, this dude, he has worked out his pecs, his arms, his quads. He's worked out everywhere. He skipped none of the days at the gym. And I'm very proud of Mega. They've come a long way to make this design beautiful today. So yeah, I'm excited if they can handle a bit more complex Pokemon like that in the future. Face-wise, his print looks really nice. The rubber piece he gets, that's pretty cool. That's what he looks like if he's bald, if any of you are curious. I do really love the arms, actually. It's very fun to mess with them, and they have a decent amount of rotation for each, which I'm glad with, because, I mean, honestly, that's one of the funnest parts of the build, and they did pretty good on it for the most part. They didn't compromise it too much for, you know, the gimmick. For the most part, he stands really well all on his own. If you can balance him properly, like, the base isn't really necessary, it's just kind of there for visual decoration. And now is the moment we have all been waiting for. We are going to see the champ go wild and do what he does best. Man, do I feel empowered from that. That's right, this is how his arms work. He just swings them around and he's a bodily weapon. And I will admit, it does look kind of cool. And honestly, the whole inner construction of the body area was super interesting to look at and build. But it honestly gets more annoying than cool after a while. At least, not with the stick. The stick's honestly annoying. Get this out of this man's back. Get out of his shoulder blades. He's going to get sore. I don't have a masseuse Pokemon yet. So at least the arm movement wasn't compromised for the gimmick entirely. As I mentioned earlier, movement is pretty good for the arms themselves, with the only annoying issue coming from the shoulder point, which makes all the arms fall if you nudge it the tiniest bit too far out of place. Like that. But all the other places on the arm, they do fairly well for themselves. It's just that part is a little bit of a bummer, so you will have to work around that if you want to do some extreme posing or anything. And while I'm at it, here's just a quick size comparison so you can kind of get a grasp of where he lies size-wise compared to some other Pokemon. Dragonite is still one of the biggest, but he's awfully close to Dragonite. I'll give him that. If he reached his arms up, he would be taller than him. So that's a first. And then, of course, you know, there's Greninja. Greninja's basically, he's as tall as ever. And then here we have, you know, Lucario. And then the baby Machamp down there. So there you go, just a rough size estimate of where he lies. So he's a very tall, big boy. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say on him. Overall, yeah, very impressive Pokemon. Visually, he is wonderful. For the most part, his articulation's pretty good, except the other little bits I may have highlighted. But I don't really feel like they hinder it too much, like to the point where the build is awful or anything. And overall, yeah, he's a really fun Pokemon. I love the posability. He is really fun to mess around with. You'll have a great time posing him for your collection. Glad they didn't really focus too much on their gimmick to compromise any part of his build. He is very impressive. I do love the utilization of the bricks. Very physically, he just, you know, he feels strong. He's made out of curved bricks, but they did really good on making him feel like a proper muscle Pokemon. They did some justice to this man here, and that's lovely. And yeah, with that, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you liked what you saw, now would be a wonderful time to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe, as all those would really help us out to our 2,000 subscriber goal now. I have plenty of other new Mega Construx Pokemon content on the way. And yeah, just in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night. And remember to go drink some agua.